running from one task to the next is hormone imbalance. It's a symptom of hormone imbalance. You can't run from the tiger and save your life and make babies. Not possible, right? Because all your blood flow goes to your extremities when you're running. And the running could be as simple as you're late for an appointment, or you're sitting in traffic, or you lost your car keys. Our brain, sort of is on high alert, and now all of a sudden we're making excess cortisol.
Welcome to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck, talking wellness and weight loss for real life. We're here to clear up the myths, misinformation, bad science, and marketing to teach you how to eat and how to cheat. Are you ready? I'm having salad with a side of fries. Hey friend, welcome back to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm Jenn Trepeck, your host and health coach, here with you every week for Wellness Without the Weirdness. And every year, I feel like there seems to be a theme or really like one or two hot topics and the questions that most people ask about. So in some years, it's been gut health, and this year, it is all about hormones. And today's featured guest says that your hormones have deal breakers that you're likely ignoring. So who is our featured guest with this hot take? She's a board-certified integrative nutritionist specializing in women's health and hormone balance, empowering women to become the CEO of their own health so they can feel vibrant, confident, and sexy at any age. As founder and CEO of Natural Hormone Solution, she's helped over 100,000 women worldwide through her programs, retreats, and events, including her signature Hormone Reset program, which has transformed the health of more than 16,500 women since 2020. She has interviewed over 200 leading healthcare experts, sharing science-backed strategies for natural healing, and has served as president of both the National Association of Women Business Owners in Silicon Valley and the National Association of Nutrition Professionals. She's also been featured on CBS's Eye on the Bay for her transformative women's retreats. Proud mother and grandmother, she's also a competitive tennis player, surfer, gardener, musician, and passionate cook, married to her hot, sexy lover for over 42 years. Living proof that age is just a number. Please meet Robin Nielsen.
Thank you. Wow, I love your delivery. It's so awesome. I feel like I'm on a game show.
We try to, have a little energy and vibe around here.
Very good. It's those fries.
It is. It's the fries. That's definitely
it's the fries. You're keeping the fun. You're keeping the fun in it.
We try, right?
Yeah.
Love it. Well, thank you. And I want to start with your story as our jumping off point. Just one more piece of housekeeping. We have to tell our members what they're getting this week. So friends, join us in the Happy Healthy Hub. Being a member of the Hub is the next best thing to working with me as your coach. You get a recipe each week delivered to your inbox, curated articles, additional discounts from me and our partners, interview episodes like this one in full video, including some behind-the-scenes content, access to the community board where we can interact, ask and answer questions, and so much more. All of this is yours for just $12 a month. Or if you pay for a year at once, you get 2 months free. So literally all that every week for $120 for the year. Wild. So your recipe this week is for garlic herb cottage cheese dip. So it's really the perfect thing to make and just keep in the fridge. If you have guests coming over, serve it with guests, bring it to any sort of potluck or barbecue that you have this season. It's a magical pair for all the veggies that are in season right now. So if you're listening when this goes live, think like cucumbers, carrots, green beans, tomatoes. So delicious. So to get this recipe, plus this episode in full video, access to our community chat where you can ask me anything, go to asaladwithasideoffries.com/membership. From there, you're going to click subscribe now, follow the prompts to enter your payment info, and create your login to access the hub and all of your benefits. Remember, you're going to asaladwithasideoffries.com/membership so that you support the health of this show and the health of you and your family and your body. All the things. All right, Robin, over to you. So last time we spoke, you said that you were old even when you were young. So tell us what that means and how it led you to helping people today with hormone balance.
Yeah, good memory. Wow. Yes, I was old when I was young. So now 40 years later, right, I feel better than I ever did when I was in my 20s. So I'm giving away my age a little bit. And there was no Dr. Google back then. So it wasn't like I could just, go on to Chat GPT and figure my stuff out, even though it's still not the best way. But at least you have like some sort of idea on where to start. Yeah, so this is going to bring down the mood a little bit. Sorry about that. But, my mess is my message. And, as a teenager, I could gain 5 pounds in a day for no good reason. And I had acne on my face, my chest, and my back. And, one could say that those were teenage issues, right? But they actually lasted decades and a little over 3 to be exact. So that's a long time to have zero control over your weight and to have zero control over skin health, right? And those are both things that were front and center to me because, that was my forward facing self. That's what other people could see. And so I was embarrassed and I felt a lot of shame around it because I couldn't figure it out. And I felt it was my fault. And all the really sort of low energy emotions were constant for me because of that. And then, as I moved into my 20s, I had receding gums and I had receding enamel on my teeth. And so the dentist handed me a tube of Sensodyne toothpaste to numb everything out. And that was the solution. And so, of course, that's what I used because it was really painful for me to eat hot and cold foods. And then, fast forward a few years and I started getting arthritic symptoms in my hands. And keep in mind, I'm in my late 20s. And, I was carrying a bucket, out to the horses and it just, fell out of my hands. I couldn't, my grip strength sort of had gone away. And, I still had the weight gain and I still had the acne. And now I had arthritic symptoms in my hands and I had receding gums and receding enamel on my teeth. And fast forward a few more years and I had varicose veins that were super painful. And, I was getting brain fog and I had horrible digestive issues. And come my mid to late 30s, still all the same stuff, right? It keeps piling on if we don't listen to the first messages, right? I'm struggling here. And then, I just completely had a meltdown. I was driving home from work one day on this little country road, and I remember just breaking down and sobbing. And I pulled the car over and I felt like I wasn't doing a good job at anything. You know how you feel like you're spread too thin? That's something that we say often. I was doing a lot of things, but I didn't feel like I was doing anything well. And I didn't feel like I was being a good mom to my 2 sons or a good wife, or I always left work on my desk when I left the office because there was a family to attend to. And so I had this little meltdown and I vowed right then and there to figure my stuff out. And I even had rough elbows. I thought it was a lotion problem. So I must have tried 50 different lotions. Nothing worked, right? Nothing worked. So once I decided, right, once I chose to figure my stuff out, solutions started to appear. And I said yes to every single one of them. So before you know it, I was back in school. And this was all to heal my stuff. And it was really to heal my skin and to address once and for all the weight issue. I wasn't thinking about any other health symptoms. And that's something that I want you to think about is what are those health symptoms that you're hyper focused on? And what are the health symptoms that you actually have? Because I think part of it was I didn't think that I could ever heal varicose veins. I never in a million years dreamed that I could heal my teeth and heal my gums. Never in a million years. I didn't realize that rough elbows were an inside job. So what are those symptoms that you're experiencing that you're ignoring, either because they're not forward facing or because you don't think that they're healable? It's a really great question to ask yourself because they're all symptoms that are common, but they're not normal. And hot flashes is right in there. I didn't have hot flashes yet, but yeah, so I healed everything. I went back to school. I trained under an endocrinologist, and that was really the game changer for me. The endocrinologist who I trained under was functional, way before her time, like 35 years ago.
Thank goodness.
And so that's why I help women with their hormones, because I learned how to heal from a hormonal perspective. And it makes perfect sense because we're paying attention to the wrong hormones. So I healed everything. The enamel on my teeth grew back. So in my late 30s, early 40s, I could bite into an ice cream. It's like the fries, ladies, right? Without pain. Like it was like, wow, like I could do this, And my gums grew back. And for the first time in my life, I had soft elbows, no arthritic symptoms in my hands, right? And something that pretty much killed my father, was arthritis. It got so painful and so invasive. So it's a thing in my family. And varicose veins completely went away. Skin became beautiful for the first time in my life. I mean, I could wear like a scoop neck top and a bathing suit without feeling so embarrassed. And mental clarity, great energy. And the beautiful part was I learned that I needed to eat. Because as women, we learn to undereat and overexercise. And when you do that, you are basically telling your metabolism to just slow down.
Yeah. I want to pause you for a second because I want to make sure everybody heard something. And what you're talking about is, first of all, paying attention to the symptoms that we think don't matter because they are also telling us something. And then the other thing is, you said it in there really quickly that we're focusing on the wrong hormones. So I want to focus on that for a second because I think most of us, when we hear the word hormones, we're thinking estrogen, testosterone, progesterone.
Yes, that's right.
Right? That's what we normally think of. So you also call those more of downstream hormones.
They're your minor hormones.
So say more.
So good listening. Good listening. I just wanted to sort of plant that seed because, we're busy talking about estrogen dominance, right? Like that's a word or a phrase that just rolls off our tongue, but we literally have no idea what it means. We're busy checking our minor hormones, progesterone, estrogen, maybe testosterone, maybe DHEA, because that's what our doctors tell us to test, or that's what they order for us. But those hormones are way downstream. We cannot make our sex hormones if cortisol is really busy putting out fires. Or another way to say it, saving your life, because that's really what your brain is trying to do when it produces excess cortisol, is it's trying to save your life. And so if cortisol is really busy, you're using pregnetyl cholesterol is the mama of all of our steroid hormones, by the way, ladies, and we need more of it than we think. And we're using that to make cortisol instead of progesterone, estrogen, testosterone. So think of it this way. We can't run from the tiger, which is what I was busy doing, right? By the way, running from one task to the next is hormone imbalance. It's a symptom of hormone imbalance. You can't run from the tiger and save your life and make babies. Not possible, right? Because all your blood flow goes to your extremities when you're running. And the running could be as simple as you're late for an appointment, or you're sitting in traffic, or you lost your car keys, or your child can't find their special outfit for this, day at school, whatever it is, it's all the same. Our brain, sort of is on high alert. And now all of a sudden we're making excess cortisol. And where I kind of want to set the record straight with cortisol is that we overuse the word stress and we have no idea what it means. So I'd love for us not to use that word anymore and to name it so you can change it, right? Just name it. Like, what is the stressor that's taking out your beautiful cortisol rhythm? Because cortisol's not the bad guy. How we're living our lives and what we're taking in are potentially the bad guys. So we need cortisol because she's what gives us our energy for the day. And she works in rhythm with melatonin, our nighttime hormone, which, by the way, is our protective hormone from the metabolic diseases of aging. And we call them the accelerated metabolic diseases of aging, like heart disease and high blood pressure and cancer and diabetes and obesity. So if your cortisol's out of rhythm, For daytime, your melatonin is going to be out of rhythm, which means you're not going to have that protection. You're going to be tired. You're potentially going to be fat, and you're going to have brain fog, and you're not going to feel your best, right? And then maybe all the other little symptoms like I had that just start to surface as your metabolism gets wonkier and wonkier.
I love that you pointed out and reminded everyone that cortisol is not the enemy, right? It's been made out to be this bad guy, but we need that cortisol. It plays a purpose. And so I think there's a piece of the self-medicating and the conversation around cortisol is always less, less, less that then further exacerbates the situation.
Yeah. So again, cortisol has to be in a really nice rhythm. So we want cortisol to be at its lowest point in the morning when we wake up, but within 2 to 3 hours, we want it to be at its highest point because that's what gives us our energy to do our day, right? So we've got to have healthy cortisol levels. And then once it's peaked, it starts to go down, right? Because when it starts to get dark outside, now we start producing melatonin because then that has a beautiful rhythm. So think of it like this. When you have a flowing day, right? Flowing day, you have a flowing night. Stressful day, busy day, you're going to have a busy night. Many of us can't sleep, right? We can't fall asleep or we can't stay asleep. And it's because of how you did your day. And by the way, right, cortisol helps to regulate blood sugar, right? Because you have to have blood sugar to run from the tiger. So your two major hormones are cortisol and insulin, because insulin has to get sugar from your bloodstream into your cells so that you can run, right, to burn for fuel. So when cortisol is dysregulated, insulin is dysregulated. And insulin resistance has all the same symptoms as perimenopause and postmenopause. All the same. And we don't test for it anymore unless you are in the know and you ask for it and your doctor's on board or you test it yourself, right? I mean, you can take a questionnaire, and kind of figure it out, but testing is important, right? Testing, don't guess. That's how we get the objective information to figure things out. So going back to your previous statement, cortisol is absolutely not the bad gal, right? She is essential. She manages blood sugar. She manages inflammation. She manages metabolism. She works in conjunction with your thyroid. Like, it's crazy amazing, all the things that she does.
So to reiterate, right, essentially what you're saying, what most people think of when we talk about hormones, they're thinking of these sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, that are actually downstream, and the upstream of where we really want to focus. In order to have regulation in those downstream hormones, we need to focus on the upstream of cortisol and therefore insulin.
And when you get a handle on those two, you can actually make the right amounts of your sex hormones. Progesterone, by the way, which is the hormone that most of us are most deficient in, can go to make cortisol. So a lot of hormones can go to make cortisol because that's to save your life. So if you're constantly using progesterone to make cortisol, you're going to be really progesterone deficient. And that's where, the term estrogen dominance comes in potentially. There are also a lot of other reasons for too much estrogen to not enough progesterone, right? A lot of reasons, but a main one is that we're using pregnenolone and progesterone to make cortisol because of your schedule or because of things that you're exposed to or things that you're putting into your body or even your thoughts, by the way.
Yeah, so I want to dig more into that. And so essentially what you're saying is the deal breakers, as you put it, are the things that are really creating that dysregulation in the cortisol, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're hormone deal breakers. And that means that they're taking your cortisol out of a normal, healthy rhythm, right?
Okay, awesome. So I want to double click on that after we highlight our sponsor for this episode, BetterHelp. With the show, we have aha moments that click when something finally makes sense and changes the way you see things. And maybe it's realizing that your plan has actually been working against you, or the way you'd been eating your whole life has created the symptoms that you're now experiencing. Those aha moments are powerful. Therapy can create the same kind of breakthroughs, often for the way that you see yourself. And just like with your health, you don't have to get there alone. Having support and a fresh perspective can make all the difference. BetterHelp makes it easier to start therapy. You take a quick quiz, get matched with a licensed therapist, and communicate however works for you. Phone, video, text. It's not the best fit? No worries. You can switch it anytime for no extra cost. Because breakthroughs don't only happen on your plate or during exercise. Over 6 million people have gotten help through BetterHelp, earning them 4.8 out of 5 stars on the App Store. Go to betterhelp.com/sideofries and get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/sideofries. You'll also find that link in the episode notes below. So, okay, Robin, as we were talking about this idea of these hormone deal breakers, the things that we don't even realize are disrupting that cortisol pattern. You started to talk about our thoughts, because I think that's a big one that people are overlooking. And then we can go through, kind of a whole list, right? So,
Yes, that is a big one that we're overlooking because when we don't feel well, our thoughts are not good. So one of the first things to go when our health, when we start having all these symptoms of poor health is our serotonin levels. Our serotonin levels start to drop. I had, horrible digestion. And so that's where we make most of our serotonin. And so I had obsessively negative thoughts that went round and round in my head all the time. And that's called weather, by the way, but you got to fix it. And so when you have these chronically negative thoughts, that's what you're focusing on. And it really stresses us out, right? It affects cortisol in a big way. And so it continues to take your health out. So it's a little bit of a sort of perpetuation of poor health when you're thinking about these negative thoughts all the time, because thoughts become things. What we focus on expands. So you've got to turn those thoughts around, no matter how you feel about it, because sometimes we just can't get out of our own way. And you've got to think of the opposite or something more positive until, you can work with someone who can fix that brain chemistry and help you heal your gut. Or you've got to, figure out a way to do it yourself, because thoughts will just keep you stuck in hormone hell.
yeah, well, and to that point, right, the body and the brain believe everything you tell it.
And it just so happens that they're connected. Did you know that?
Wild, yes.
I mean, it was so funny though. So at some point we thought they were like, it was okay. You've got the brain and you've got the body and, they're two separate things. And like, what?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that we register emotion in every cell of our bodies.
Yeah. And so it makes the point even fitting for our sponsor for this episode, BetterHelp, right? So we can focus on those thoughts. So thinking about toxic thoughts, I know there are other toxins.
Yeah. So toxins are a really big thing, especially in the world that we live in today. We're literally making like billions of gallons of toxins a day. It's so crazy. We don't have the mechanisms to process them. There are the forever chemicals now that are in our water that you just can't get rid of. They're really hard to filter out. It's a real problem. And toxins in our food supply it's just crazy. And then we think about even like toxins. This is a biggie, by the way, ladies. Toxins in our body care products, right? Face cream, for instance. One of my clients had really crazy high estrogen. We couldn't figure out where it was coming from. Turns out her face cream, we sent her face cream to the lab. Turns out her face cream had these really gross xenoestrogens. They're chemicals that mimic estrogen and land on estrogen receptor sites in your body. And they're also called obesogens because they make us fat. And so, body care products are a great place to start by, using the environmental working group, right? EWG.org, and checking your face cream and checking your deodorant and checking your lotions and your shampoo, by the way, everything, anything that you put on your body, because your skin's your largest detox organ. It also just absorbs whatever you put on it. and your poor liver cannot keep up. There are just too many toxins. And when your liver can't keep up, you start getting really adverse symptoms of all kinds, right? And so you've got to keep those toxin pathways clear, and you've got to keep supporting your liver and eliminate as many as you can. And household cleaning products, holy cow, same thing, right? We know that just a couple squirts of Windex on a rat's tail causes cancer. And I was at a local place, I'm not going to name names here, but they're a juice bar and they make all this healthy stuff and they're using Windex on the countertops and on everything to clean. And I'm like, well, that's the last time I'm coming here. Like, seriously, why don't you just use white vinegar? Nobody's thinking about these little nuances. It's a super healthy place and they're using Windex to clean. So that's the last time I'm going back there. So, pay attention, right? Use white vinegar. Like that and Bonami are the only things in my home for cleaning. And the other toxin that we don't think about too much, but the other toxin are really toxic relationships. And potentially relationships that you're not managing well for whatever reason. You need to get out of them until your health is better, or you need to have help navigating them. Because if they're constantly taking you out, then they're constantly taking cortisol out. And what that means is that you just won't be healthy. So I know firsthand, I have some toxic family members, one in particular, and I just have to distance myself from him because we start second guessing our greatness, right? We start second guessing who we are. And so we've got to just give ourselves the grace of not having that relationship for a little bit or distancing yourself. And many of our clients have made some big changes in that area to have a better life. And it's really important. And as you start to heal, you begin to tolerate less of that. You're just like, life's too short, not doing that, right? Not going there. And we also don't want to get in a fight, because we feel too good. We feel really balanced and happy, and we don't want anything to mess with that. So those are kind of all the toxins, but there are a lot of them. That's just one hormone deal breaker category.
Yeah. And then I want to go back to something that you said in the beginning, that especially as women, but these days, especially when it comes to weight management and all of these hormone things too, for male and female bodies, there's this idea of eat less, move more, smaller. And with that comes, I think more deal breakers when it comes to nutrients and eating less and timing and what we're eating. So will you speak to sort of all of, the food and movement elements that our hormone deal breakers we're probably not noticing?
Yeah, those are really big, by the way, because you've got to eat for hormone balance if you want to have hormone balance. And as women, I was really great. I had a whole philosophy behind this of not eating breakfast. And I don't even think I drank water, by the way. I just was so clueless. I don't even remember, right? But I definitely purposefully did not eat breakfast because I felt like then I ate more during the day and it just put weight on. So I thought, well, if I don't eat breakfast, then at least I have a good start to the day, which is completely the opposite of reality. But that was, my thinking. And then I would go, I'm the perfect example. And then I would go to jazzercise, right? I'd go do cardio for an hour. And here, I wasn't feeling great, but I went to do all that because I believed that that was the key to better weight management. So I didn't eat, not only underate, I just didn't eat. And then I overexercised. But then, wait for it, I felt like I deserved a treat, right? So I went to the newer espresso bars because they were newer then. And I would get myself a mocha and a bow tie pastry. Right. So maybe that's 500 calories and you just can't burn that many calories at jazzercise. It's not possible. So the whole exercising to burn calories has never worked. And if you thought it did, you just never did the math. Right. And so then I felt really great for an hour. I'm like, this is great. I didn't eat breakfast. I overexercised. I just had my little treat. But then I was a mess, right, for the rest of the day. My blood sugar was all over the place. I was irritable, cranky, you name it. And so it was a disaster. So you can't do that. So how we fix that is we eat breakfast within an hour of waking because that tells your cortisol, right? This is the hormone that we're paying attention to now. that it's time to get going. So it's all speaking to your hormones. Everything you do speaks to your hormones. So you eat a high protein breakfast within an hour of waking, and that tells your cortisol to go. And then you eat every 4 to 6 hours, and you stop eating by 7 because we become more insulin resistant, like 50% more insulin resistant after 7, which means that any carbs or sugar that you eat might just get stored as fat. So that's a big deal. And we don't skip any meals. We eat 3 meals minimum a day. It's best to eat 3 meals and digest and heal between. But if you're somebody who's doing more movement, you might need smaller meals throughout the day. But here's the deal with movement or exercise. You can't over-exercise for your chi or for your energy levels. So if you're really tired right now, you can go for a short walk. That's it. So we have this little acronym for knowing whether you're overdoing it or not. It's called SEMCH, right? You check your sleep. Can you still fall asleep and stay asleep? Or is your sleep disrupted after exercise? You check your menstrual cycle if you're still menstruating, right? Has your menstrual cycle gone awry for whatever reason? And that's a good indication that you're over-exercising. Moods, check your moods. If your moods went south, chances are you're overdoing it. Cravings and hunger. So if your cravings went up and your hunger went up, chances are you're doing too much. That might be all of it. Oh, and your energy levels, right? Did it completely sap your energy levels, or do you still have some to do the rest of your day? So check those things. But walking, when you're first starting to heal is huge, right? It's really huge. And walking for 15 minutes after each meal makes you way more insulin sensitive. Isn't that so great? So walking for just 15 minutes after each meal is a hormone game changer. And I want to go back to food for just a moment. Every meal has healthy proteins, healthy fats, and healthy carbohydrates. I think it was your No, it wasn't your podcast. Whose podcast was it? I think it was yours, where you were talking about some food. Were you reviewing a food
Probably.
for somebody?
I mean, yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was hysterical.
Yeah.
It was some like double chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
Chip.
Yeah, it was the double chocolate chip muffin. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, you were so patient. I think within the first 5 minutes, I would have just said, this isn't food.
Correct.
What are you doing?
Right.
So yeah, they're like carb inhibitors and fat inhibitors. Yep. And it's like, then you're inhibiting your hormone balance and you're going to feel like crap. So don't do that, right? We've got to have, our brain is mostly fat, ladies. We got to have good, healthy fats.
And so that brings us back to even something that you mentioned before of needing cholesterol, that cholesterol being this building block of all of these hormones. But over the years, just like cortisol, cholesterol has gotten such a bad rap. So will you speak to that too?
Yeah. And so in our private programs, we do a lot of testing. And as we age, by the way, our total cholesterol needs to go up, not down, because it takes over a bigger part of hormone making when your ovaries stop making hormones. So it's even more important as we age, only we're busy lowering it. So when we lower it too far, we can't make enough of any of those downstream hormones, meaning cortisol, progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, DHEA, pregnenolone, and even a hormone called aldosterone that your adrenals make that regulates your sodium and potassium, your electrolytes. So think high blood pressure, right? So cholesterol is super, super important. And you also need it for your brain. So you get depressed if your cholesterol gets too low. So be really careful. And I have to say that, that white coat carries a lot of fear. And so when, somebody wearing a white coat tells us that we need to take a statin or we need to take something to lower our cholesterol, we believe it and we do it. And unfortunately, it really changes the energy in all the muscles in your body because it also blocks a nutrient called CoQ10, right? So it's blocking a specific enzymatic pathway that not only blocks the production of cholesterol in your liver, but also blocks the production of CoQ10, which is essential for energy and is concentrated in your heart. So let's be smart, right? I mean, you can take fiber to lower cholesterol. You can just, change the way you're taking care of yourself to lower cholesterol. It's so easy. It can take you 10 days to lower your total cholesterol to a place where it's healthier.
So
But
when you talk
low doesn't
about,
mean it's healthier.
yeah, so with a different recommendation, and especially after a certain age, maybe wanting total cholesterol to be in a different place, what are some benchmarks that you would recommend then for total cholesterol, HDL, LDL, triglycerides that somebody might want to pay attention to in a different way than maybe, like you're saying, their white coat is recommending?
Yeah, so I think it's important to have a good balance. And I'm not going to share specific numbers today because it kind of depends on your age, but there's a really nice, healthy, optimal range. And, total cholesterol, you want at least at 200. Like that's the minimum. But, when you get there, that's when you're told, oh, be careful. We better check in on a regular basis because we might have to lower it. So you just want to be really careful about that because we like to go up closer to like 245, 248. That's like, we use optimal numbers, not laboratory reference ranges. So that's a good range post menopause. And it's certainly not too high for anyone, actually. But you do want to look at sort of your ratio of HDL to LDL because, you want more what's considered good cholesterol. But to be quite honest, we would need both of them. One transports cholesterol to our blood vessels and one takes it away. And, the other aspect that isn't looked at is if you're making a lot of cholesterol, there could be too much inflammation going on in your body because it's used as a Band-Aid in your blood vessels. So if there's any damage, it's used to patch things up. So what else is going on that your body might need excess cholesterol for? So just start, uncovering those other hormone deal breakers. There are many of them, and testing really helps. How you feel is very, very important. So when you go to our website and you take the complete hormone assessment, you'll have an idea of the other symptoms that you're experiencing, but just have ignored for whatever reason. And then get some testing done and have like a plan to start healing things. And over time, everything's going to heal, just like it did for me. But it takes days, weeks, months, and years. At least a year. You'll start feeling better really fast, but it takes time for those old, unhealthy cells to die off and then new healthy cells to take their place. And that just takes time.
Yeah, for sure. So as we wrap up, there are certainly many more hormone deal breakers. I feel like I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about sleep and circadian rhythm as one of those.
Sleep is huge. Unfortunately, sleep is a little bit elusive if we're out of hormone balance, but don't discount rest because rest can help us get to better sleep. So go back to the concept of a flowing day means you're going to have a flowing night. So the biggest thing you can do is just start to eat for hormone balance. It's a game changer for sleep, right? And there's one more newer hormone deal breaker that I have
I love
to
it.
share that I've maybe only shared one other place, and that's your to-do list. So ladies, your to-do list is a hormone deal breaker, and I'm going to give you several points why that is. First of all, it's probably right here on your desk or it's in your kitchen or it's somewhere where you can see it all the time. Constantly aggravating your nervous system. I won't say stressing, just aggravating it. And none of those things are in your calendar, right? And it's very satisfying when you cross them off, you get it done, but then you add 2 more. So does your to-do list ever go away? No. And have you set aside time for anything on your to-do list? No, because it's not in your calendar. So if there's just one thing you do after this podcast is you take everything on your to-do list and you put it in your calendar. So you actually allocate time for it. And then you throw that to-do list away. And if something else comes up that you need to do, put it in your calendar. So now you've allocated time for it. You know it's coming up. You can let it go because it's in your calendar. You're not, ladies say, oh, when I go to bed at night, I think of all the stuff that I've got to do because you have a to-do list.
It's so funny
if
that you say
didn't have a
this.
to-do list, you wouldn't worry about it.
I made this shift Now it's been a couple years. Dramatic. So I'll tell everybody, go back. We have an episode with Megan Sumrell and an episode with Anna Dearman-Kornick. Both are tremendous for helping us shift from this to-do list life, and really such a difference.
It's a funny thing to talk about around hormones. It just seems a little odd, but you got to start thinking about those things that really aggravate your nervous system. So as you heal, you'll start being able to feel into things more. And this is a really funny example, but I was sending my little dog that you met earlier to pooch camp. So this gal is amazing with dogs, and I wanted to get her socialized when she was a pup. And so, the gal would come in her car and she'd put all the dogs in the back, and it was adorable. It's like the most fun you've ever had with dogs. And she would take them to the beach and they get to run and play for a few hours, and she'd bring them back. And it was the best for socializing her and for getting her sort of trained. Except that I must have received like 4 or 5 texts when Jacqueline was on her way to pick up sister, because she'd be running late or she'd have to get gas or she, had a flat tire or whatever it was. And then when she was at the beach, I would get, another 10 texts, with photos and voicemails. And the dogs are doing great, and videos and all this. And then I'd get like 4 to 5 texts at least on the way home of when they were going to be here, all the stops they had to make. And pretty soon it wore me out, right? I was like, I love you, but I just can't do this anymore. And it served its purpose. I think we did it for a year. And, you turn off your notifications and all that. But at some point, you still look at all of them. And so it's little things like that you'll just start noticing. You're like, I want a little bit more peaceful life. I want to pick and choose. I want to be able to turn off, things like that.
Yeah, I love it. So funny. All right. I think that brings us to our rapid fire off-topic questions. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right. What's the best thing you've done for your health this week? What's the naughtiest thing you've done related to your health this week? The salad and fries, right?
Okay. So the best thing I've done for my health this week is I went this morning for a stand-up paddleboard session on the ocean about 8 o'clock. It was flat, gorgeous, sunny, and my little dog sister was on the paddleboard with me. And it's like, I don't know, it's just like meditation. It's so incredible. Oh, all right. The naughtiest thing is we have an organic ice cream store here, very close by. It's very delicious. And my hot, sexy lover, AKA my husband, and I went and got an itty bitty. So it's really not an itty bitty, ladies. It's like, how the single scoop has become this huge thing? Well, an itty bitty is like half that, but it's still kind of a lot of ice cream. So we got an itty bitty, got an ice cream. And I don't eat
delicious
dairy normally, right?
Yeah.
And those were your 2 questions.
Love it. If you weren't an integrative nutritionist and founder of Natural Hormone Solution, what would you do?
Well, I'm embarking on starting a nonprofit. And
Nice.
the nonprofit is called Free Guitars for Kids. And in 23 states right now, there isn't one where we are in California. And I'm a guitar player and part of a women's group. We play all over the place. And it is like the coolest concept ever. And I'm going to be doing that as well, and probably well into retirement, whatever that looks like, whenever that is.
Nice. Your favorite book on any topic other than your area of expertise, or you could give us a fiction book.
Oh my gosh, my favorite book. I really loved The Hummingbird's Daughter.
Okay.
I love Mexico. I love speaking Spanish, and that was a special book.
All right. I'll add it to my list. If you could cure one ailment, disease, or sickness, what would it be?
Oh gosh, the mindset around how to take care of ourselves and heal.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
If you were a superhero, what would be your superpower?
Oh my gosh. I would say motivating people, getting people excited about things. If I'm excited, you're going to be excited.
Love it. What's your biggest pet peeve?
Yeah, I could cry on this one. My biggest pet peeve is that we don't take charge of our own health. We rely on others, mostly the medical system, to address chronic health issues. And there is no medical solution for chronic health issues. And so if you go that route, you just get sicker and sicker, and it breaks my heart.
Yeah, for sure. Well said. Last one, in your opinion, what's the next frontier in wellness?
I think it's getting pretty complicated. It really is. And I'm not sure how to answer that question. I think if we could think a little smaller and just know that it's all those baby steps over time that equal big results and make that your frontier. Because, we can get really nuanced. I talk to ladies all the time who are taking like these weird supplements and they're taking things that maybe if you have healed and you want to experiment a little bit, great, but we're getting too complicated. And it's the basic things that are the new frontier. Just get back to the basics and it's a game changer. So I'd like to think that that's going to be the new frontier when we stop thinking about, what's the latest and greatest?
Exactly. Love it. Well,
Yeah.
Robin Nielsen, thank you for being here. Tell everybody how to connect with you, where to learn more, everything you offer.
Oh, so great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm at naturalhormonesolution.com. We have a program called Robin's Hormone Reset that has helped, lots of women, very reasonable for every woman to participate. So that's wonderful. It's on our program page, and you can take the complete hormone assessment on our homepage. It's long, so I'm going to warn you ahead of time, but it goes over each of 6 hormones and the symptoms that are associated with each of them. So you can say to yourself, wow, I had no idea. And you can also say, gosh, I didn't realize that that was a thing. Like one gal took it recently and there's an enlarged tongue on there is one of the symptoms. And you can see which hormone that's associated with, right? Running from one task to the next is a hormone imbalance, and you can see which hormone it's associated with. So that's a game changer. And you can visit us on Facebook at Natural Solutions for Hormone Balance is the URL.
Okay, perfect. We'll put links to everything in the episode notes for everybody too. So yeah, awesome. Well, thank you again. Appreciate your time and expertise and how you explain everything so that we can all take action. So thank you. All right, friends, on Friday in this week's bite-sized bonus episode, so following our 90s versus now episode, we're talking about protein Doritos. So following our 90s versus now episode, Stephanie, who joined me for that conversation, sent me a thing on Instagram about protein Doritos, and people were tasting them. They thought they tasted pretty good. Anyway, I always say we definitely do not need protein in every food. Yet I would be remiss if we did not take a look at these protein Doritos. So that's on Friday and this week's bite-sized bonus episode. Be sure wherever you're listening, click the plus side or the follow button, and then your app will alert you when the Nutrition Nugget goes live on Friday morning. Well, as always, everybody, I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck. Connect with me on Instagram or all social media. I'm at Jenn Trepeck, JENN-TREPECK. Website is asaladwithasideofries.com. Pick your platform, send a message. I love hearing from you, your takeaways, your ideas, your questions. This is also the easiest way to learn more about working with me as your health coach. Robin Nielsen, thank you again for joining us. And friends, if you are not already a member, join us in the Happy Healthy Hub. You'll go to asaladwithasideofries.com. This shows your support for this podcast, this community, and above all, your health. On top of this week's episode and full video with behind-the-scenes content, your 24/7 Ask Me Anything on the community board. You'll also get this week's recipe for the garlic herb cottage cheese dip. So until next week, remember, the body is always doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Which means if you figure out your hormone deal breakers, you can work with your body rather than against it. Well, friends, that's it for today's episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. Congratulations for making yourself and your health a priority. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to click subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform. Share us with a friend, and we'll be back next week. Always remember, you deserve it and you are worth it. Happy healthy.